This video is sponsored in part by Keeps, Colorado and Wyoming, the two square states that border each other in these United States. And sure, they are next to each other, but wow, are they dramatically different. But first, let's look at what they have in common. Both are about the same size and area, and two of the largest states by area. Colorado is a bit bigger. Both have more men than women, which is rare, you know. Only two states, North Dakota and Alaska, have a lower percentage of women than Wyoming. Both have the Rocky Mountains.
Huh. I expected the Rocky Mountains to be a little rockier than this.
I was thinking the same thing. That John Denver's full of
No, but seriously, both are known for their beautiful mountains. That said, folks forget that the eastern portion of both states does look like that, as it's part of the Great Plains. So yeah, both have lots of because of those gigantic mountains causing a rain shadow for the eastern portions of both, and because of other mountains further west, much of both states is fairly dry, with the precipitation mostly coming at those higher elevations. Colorado is the 7th driest state overall in the country, while Wyoming is the 5th driest. Wyoming also has the Black Hills, which creep into the eastern portion of the state. In that area, the magnificent Devil's Tower dramatically rises. You know, the butte where aliens landed in that movie. Teddy Roosevelt designated it the first national monument back in 1906. Both have the highest elevation overall on average. Colorado has the highest incorporated city in all of North America, Alma. Although, don't tell the folks in Leadville that. Tourism is big in both. Colorado has 4 national parks. Wyoming, just 2, but its 2 parks are 2 of the most popular in the country. Yellowstone, the country's very first national park, and Grand Teton. Here's one of the most overused calendar pictures in the world of that park. Okay, so Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado is pretty darn popular too. In addition to tourism, major industries in both include healthcare, retail, and education, although oil and gas is also big in Wyoming and professional services is also big in Colorado. Both have climates that are somewhat continental and semi-arid, but are really all over the place. Generally, of course, the higher up you are, the cooler it is, but the orientation of mountain ranges and valleys in connection with general air movements can cause lots of variation even within short distances. There are also deserts in both. Since Wyoming's further north, it does get colder than Colorado. And while both get thunderstorms in the spring and summer, Colorado gets more tornadoes. The Continental Divide goes straight through both states, and a lot of rivers start in both. Residents of both states are mostly Christian, and within that population, most identify as evangelical Protestant. Both have a sizable minority that don't identify with any religion at all. Residents of both pay about the same amount in taxes, although Wyoming residents pay a little less. Residents of both are healthier on average compared to most other states. Okay, so what about all those differences I was talking about? Well, it all goes back to the history of both states. Both, at least, started with a similar history. When Europeans arrived in the areas that would become both states, they encountered various American Indian tribes who had lived there for thousands of years. In the future Colorado, the Apache, Arapaho, Cheyenne, Pueblo, Shoshone, and Ute peoples. In the future Wyoming, also the Arapaho and Shoshone, and additionally the Lakota and Crow. Parts of both were claimed by both the Spanish and the French, but neither really settled the area as much. After the United States bought Louisiana from France, a former member of the Lewis and Clark expedition, named John Coulter, was the first American to check out Wyoming. He spent months alone exploring there, and today is generally considered considered to be the first mountain man. Lots of mountain men would flock to modern-day Wyoming in the following decades. Meanwhile, after Mexico had declared its independence from the Spanish Empire, fur traders and trappers set up trading posts along the Arkansas River and on the South Platte River in modern-day Colorado. After the Mexican-American War, all of modern-day Wyoming and Colorado were now part of the United States, and more American settlers made their way there, mostly to strike it rich through mining or through various trades. Modern-day Colorado was once part of both the territory of New Mexico and territory of Utah, while modern-day Wyoming was also part of the territory of Utah and Oregon territory. Speaking of Oregon, the Oregon Trail went right through future Wyoming, as well as the Mormon Trail and California Trail. The Santa Fe Trail went through modern-day Colorado. On April 9th, 1851, Hispanic settlers from Taos headed north and established Colorado's first permanent European settlement, San Luis. 3 years later, portions of modern-day Colorado and Wyoming were part of Kansas territory and Nebraska territory. Yeah, a big chunk of Colorado used to be part of Kansas and Nebraska, and a big chunk of Wyoming was part of Nebraska. Throughout the 1850s, both areas had gold rushes, but future Colorado had much more success. The Pikes Peak Gold Rush brought around 100,000 prospectors there. So even though the trails went through future Wyoming thanks to the South Pass, it was the gold and later better access to fresh water that brought more settlers to future Colorado. In 1861, the United States government established Colorado Territory. The name Colorado, by the way, comes from the Colorado River, aka Rio Colorado, named by the Spanish. Rio Colorado means Red River in Spanish. Both areas had their share of American Indian wars throughout the 1860s. There was the Colorado War between the United States government and an alliance of Kiowa, Comanche, Arapaho, and Cheyenne. In modern-day Wyoming, there was Red Cloud's War between the United States and an alliance of Lakota, Northern Cheyenne, and Northern Arapaho, and many other skirmishes and battles. After being part of both Dakota Territory and Idaho Territory for a bit, the United States government established Wyoming Territory in 1868. The name Wyoming comes from a contraction of the Delaware Indian word Meshweeming, when translated to, quote, at the Big Plains, first used to describe a green valley in northeastern Pennsylvania back in the 1600s. In 1869, Wyoming Territory became the first part of the country to let women vote. Later, Wyoming would continue to lead the country for women's rights. It was the first place where women served on a jury and home to the first female court bailiff, justice of the peace, and governor. Today, it's known as the Equality State thanks to that legacy. Also in 1869, Wyoming got the first transcontinental railroad through the territory. Colorado did not. The 1870s continued to be chaotic in Wyoming, with more American Indian wars. Of note, the Great Sioux War of 1876 against an alliance of Lakota Sioux and Northern Cheyenne over the Black Hills region. Colorado became a state on August 1st, 1876, but Wyoming didn't join the Union until July 10th, 1890. Throughout the rest of the 1800s, coal mining became a major industry in Colorado, and ranching became huge in Wyoming, where most of the land was in the public domain, and thus led to conflict between homesteaders and ranchers. During the Johnson County War, however, smaller ranchers and homesteaders teamed up to fight the huge cattle operators over land. Up to 38 people were killed in the conflict between 1889 and 1893. Some of the most dangerous working conditions in American history were in those Colorado coal mines. In response to these dangerous working conditions, workers organized into labor unions. The Colorado Coalfield War erupted in 1913 as a labor uprising between the United States Mine Workers of America and the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company. Yeah, it was like a freaking war. At its peak was the Ludlow Massacre, in which the Colorado National Guard and militia killed a bunch of strikers and even some of their wives and children. In 1927, there was the Columbine Mine Massacre. After that, things calmed down and Colorado steadily grew in population at a much faster rate than Wyoming. At the end of World War II, Colorado Colorado had 5 times as many people. Today, it has more than 10 times as many people. Yep, Wyoming only has around 578,000 people, making it the least populated state in the country. There are more than 2 cows for every person in Wyoming, for crying out loud. Not only that, but Wyoming's population growth has been pretty stagnant in recent years, while Colorado's population has skyrocketed. Colorado remains one of the fastest growing states. Colorado is much more urban. 2/3 of the state either lives in the Denver metro or Colorado Springs metro. Wyoming has a higher GDP per capita. However, Colorado has a higher median household income, and the poverty rate is higher in Wyoming. Colorado has a higher minimum wage. Okay, but let's look at the cost of living now. Wyoming has a much lower cost of living than Colorado. While the cost of living varies within each state, obviously Jackson Hole, Wyoming and Boulder, Colorado both have a ridiculous cost of living. Let's compare Cheyenne, the largest city in Wyoming, with Denver, the largest city in Colorado. The two cities are just an hour-and-a-half drive apart, and yet Cheyenne is almost 23% cheaper than Denver. Oh, and teachers there are paid not much less than teachers in Denver, I might add. And yeah, both are the largest cities in each state, but the metropolitan area of Cheyenne is less than 100,000 people, while the metro population of Denver is 30 times that. And Colorado has 14 cities with at least 100,000 people. Colorado has a more diverse population overall. For example, nearly 22% in Colorado identify as either Hispanic or Latino. In addition, more Colorado residents were born in a foreign country. Wyoming spends way more money on education. That said, more Colorado residents have college degrees. In fact, the only state with more college graduates is Massachusetts. More Colorado residents are members of a union. Wyoming residents are older. Colorado has more property and violent crime. While both states do have a lot of public lands, Wyoming has quite a bit more. Wyoming residents are more conservative and have reliably voted for Republican Party candidates for decades. The last time Wyoming residents voted for a Democrat for president? 1964. Colorado is more known as a swing state in presidential elections in recent decades, although I'd argue it's safely a Democratic Party state now.
Rocky Mountain High.
Rocky Mountain High? Yeah, certainly in Colorado at least. Marijuana is completely legal there. In fact, Colorado was the first state in the country to legalize it recreationally. Meanwhile, you can't even get medical marijuana in Wyoming, and it will likely be one of the last states to legalize it. Wyoming has a giant supervolcano sitting underneath it, and if it ever explodes, it could end life as we know it. On a lighter note, Colorado is known for its breweries. Only Washington State and California have more. Wyoming is known for its rodeos, including one of the largest in the world, Cheyenne Frontier Days, which draws more than 200,000 people a year. Wyoming has only 4 escalators in the entire state. I'm serious. And the tallest building in the state, a dormitory at the University of Wyoming, is just 12 stories. Hey, land is so cheap and available in Wyoming that you don't really need to build up much. Colorado is known for its many ghost towns, and while Wyoming has some, Colorado has had more than 1,500 throughout its history. Yep, it has more ghost towns than towns. There's a place called No Name in Colorado. Kanye West is trying to build a Yeezy campus in Wyoming. He loves it there. In conclusion, why don't others love it as much as Kanye? Why aren't there more people in Wyoming? Hey, that sounds like a future video idea. I have a confession to make. My bangs are hiding my receding hairline. Which is why I was impressed when Keeps approached me to sponsor one of my videos. Did you know that 2 out of 3 guys experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35? Keeps treats hair loss. Yeah, check those out, huh? And you used to have to go to a doctor's office for your hair loss prescription. Now, thanks to Keeps, you can see a doctor virtually online, and that hair loss prescription gets delivered discreetly to your front door. And they automatically deliver every 3 months, so you can say goodbye to those pharmacy visits and waiting in lines and those awkward visits to the doctor. Keeps also offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there. Around 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication, and Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. Now, here's an affordable way to prevent hair loss for real. For a limited time, get 50% off your first order by going to keeps.com/MrBeat, or just go to the link in the description of this video. Thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video. So which is better, Colorado or Wyoming? Which 2 states should I compare next? And if you're from Colorado or Wyoming, I especially want to hear from you. Tell me all about it. I've been to both states several times and I can't wait to go back. And a special shout out to my mom for always blaring John Denver in the living room growing up. John Denver is the GOAT.